All right, tonight we're learning Perek Chavav. Thank you so much for being here and getting us initiated. Perek Chavav, it's a new section of Tanya. Yeah, you know, when I go into a classroom, I don't want to digress too much. Anyway, when I go into a classroom, I tell the kids, you know, when I took a driving lesson, they asked, pick up your hand if you think you're a better than average driver. Most of the people raised their hands. They said, well, that's an impossibility. So yeah, and then the point was, everyone thinks that they're better than they really are. People overestimate. Anyway, so I said, you know, sometimes a student, he overestimates. He thinks he could hear it once and he knows it. But even the kids that can, that's if everything is, you know, some kids, they come in, they're a little cloudy. They're tired, they're hungry. There's something going on emotionally. There are things that get in the way. The Alter Rebbe, so far, the Alter Rebbe told us how to serve Hashem. It's amazing. He told us how to serve Hashem with the seichel, with developing ava al pi seichel. And he spoke to us a whole arichas that we're hardwired, b'teva, we have avas Hashem. It's all beautiful. But there are things that could get in the way and they could interfere. All these things are beautiful, but if a person is clouded, if their vision is clouded, then they can't, their heart is not open. So he says, Perek Chavav says, the Alter Rebbe is going to deal from the next section of Tanya, from Perek Chavav till Perek Lamed Daled. The Alter Rebbe is going to speak about two sides of the spectrum. One side is the Atzvus side, and the other side is the Simcha side. The Alter Rebbe's goal is to take us to a place of Simcha. We are so fortunate that that the icon of a chassid is the dancing chassid. But the truth is that the dancing chassid is a lost phenomenon. In other words, to be joyous inside, to truly be besimcha all the time, no matter what. I know I'm talking too much. I took lessons for many years. Whatever, I took lessons by a cantorial expert who used to live in East Flatbush in the olden days. He's still around, he's in his 90s. Reb Noach Scholz, all sein gesund, he told me that when he was living in East Flatbush, he got to know Rabbi Bucket. Olav Shalom was teaching in Lubavitch Yeshiva. It was Lubavitch Chassid. And he said, Rabbi Bucket was the kind of person that no matter what was happening inside, he always showed you a joyous front. He says, you knew that his life circumstances, things were collapsing, but he came in and he was besimcha, you know, he came in and he very, very much, he impacted him. It's not only that he respected him, but he started learning Chassidus, and he had an impact. So let's take a look. Perek Chavav. Beram kegoindo. However, at this point, it's Korev Ma'id. It's very close for every person to serve Hashem. But Tzarich lo yodai klal gadol. But we have to bring to the fore a klal gadol, a great principle. Yeah. That's the pshat klal gadol. Just as if a person is having a physical altercation, a physical fight, if you're in the ring, for instance, two people who are wrestling with one another, to fell the other. That's how you win. You win by toppling over the other person. If one person is lazy, sluggish, heavy, he will be easily defeated. Even if technically he's stronger. One of the things, Aaron could tell us about all kinds of, one of the things that we discover is there are so many ironies. People who are much stronger than others, but then they lose them in an arm wrestle. There's all kinds of shtick. There are different chokhmas. A person who's quick, so, a player who's light on his feet could run circles around the fridge, the refrigerator. Yes, I don't know. So, gam imugiber yesem mechavere. Kocha mamash b'nitzochan hayetzer. It's exactly the same with winning the Yetzer Hara. It's impossible to win ba'atzlos ukvedus, with laziness and sluggishness. Hanim shoches.
The laziness is already.
I know. I'll talk about that in a second. Hanim sheches me'atzvus v'timtum alev ke'evin, which are a result of depression and numbness. The timtum alev ke'evin, well, we don't have to get into Torah now.
Not feeling anything.
Right. So, no, in other words, if ki'im bizrizus, you have to work with alacrity. You have to be eager. You have to, hanim sheches misimcha, which comes from joy. And also psichas halev, the heart's openness, the heart's availability. V'taharose, the heart should be pure. Mikol nidnu daiga ve'etza ba'ilam, of any worry. Daiga refers to future. Right? We're concerned for the future. Yeah. And etzav is current. There's something happening right now that pains me. Not a worry about the future. So just to talk about, this is a perek Tanya that it's in our blood. We were raised, everyone sitting here, just to highlight one nukud that Alter Rebbe speaks about the cause and the effect. The cause is atzvus, depression, sadness, darkness. The result is laziness. Right? The atzlus is nimshach from atzvus. There's atzvus in the heart, and there's atzlus, it shows up as laziness. Right? Now, these are all yesodis of the nefesh habahamis. Generally, let me say it this way. Midos, there are two types of midos. There are melochim and meshorsim. There are midos that are they're servants. If you say a person is stubborn, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Oh, it could be both,
right? It depends what they're stubborn about. You say, when people become rich, it's good, or when people become rich, it's terrible. Some people say, when people become rich, it augments their present self. If they're a good person, they'll be a very good person. If they're a bad person, they'll be a very bad person. Right? It magnifies, it intensifies, because they're more comfortable being who they are. Right? When we talk about the Nefesh HaBahamis, there's the Nefesh HaBahamis itself. In other words, manipulating someone to do an Aveira, to trying to get you to break boundaries, to try to erode your morality, your moral code. I'll never do this, I will do this, I want to do this, I don't want to do that. All that's the way we look at the Nefesh HaBahamis. But there's something else, there's a trait. I'm not even asking you to do anything. I'm just putting in a little poison. How do you show up? Why are you walking with such excitement? Walk a little slower, a step, take it easy. Why are you so enthusiastic? Why should it be Vayashkim Avram Babaker? The Rebbe asked you to go on Shlichus. Why are you leaving 6 in the morning? Go 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Right? So the Alter Rebbe is speaking to of course it's the Nefesh HaBahamis. The Nefesh HaBahamis, his Midas Misharsim, his agents, they're not telling you to do an Aveira. There's a little atzfus, it plants a certain sense of indignation or a sense of I am a lowly person, I'm a loser. And what does that lead to? It leads to laziness. It leads to you're always a step behind. right? When people are, the people who are calling the shots, they're always ahead of you. You're in whatever the example is. It's like, does anyone need an aliyah? By the time you pick up your head, 12 people already. V'chulu v'chulu. So the Alter Rebbe explains that the nefesh elikis.
Camp registration. You got like 5 minutes to go. You have to sit there by the thing and wait. It's on, no, it's not on. It's on, no, it's not on.
So the nefesh elikis is stronger. But if you're showing up to life in a lazy presentation, then the nefesh elikis has no chance. Even though he's stronger. Because you're at a disadvantage. And where does that come from? That deep in the back, there's a little bit of atzvus, and that requires it's an inside job to change the way you feel. I feel this achrayas to mention this Indian. I said it here a few times. After the Melech Tzvibel passed away, it was sudden. He was young. There were a lot of articles about him. There was one theme that showed up time and time again. They interviewed a lot of people, and everyone said the same thing. The Melech, he was always fighting procrastination. He would tell whoever he was talking to, any bacher, if there's something you need to do it right now. Don't even schedule it for later in the day. If it's a good thing, right now, do it right now. Like this, like a real, like a fixation on akoponim. And obviously, each one of these words could be teased. What does psichas alev and what does taharas alev mean? But the Alter Rebbe is asking us to be completely free of any worry.
Even our worries.
We have the mamorim.
And to do that already, you need to win. It's like it's almost like saying if you won, you're going to win more. The rich get richer. I'm sorry.
No. Umasha kosov b'chaletzav yemeiser. There's a pasuk that says that there's an advantage, there's a benefit to depression, to sadness. Now, there are those who translate etzev, meaning responsibility. That having a job, of course a job is a burden, but having a job is a good thing. But that's not how the Gemara, in other words, in the Mefarshei HaMikra, there is such a way that it presents. But the pashtus etzev means, the way the Gemara learns it, is depression, sadness. We're in Perek Chavav. Heiru sheyeh eze yisro ma'ila mizeh, that there's an advantage, but notice that the Alter Rebbe said sheyihiyeh, that there will be a positive result, not that the etzev itself is positive. Hine adarabba, so this pasuk itself indicates the opposite. Miloshin zeh mashma sheha'etzev mitzad atzmei em be'mayla, that depression on its own has nothing redeeming of it. It may lead to something positive. Rak sheyagia v'yave mimenu eze yisrin. There is some advantage that can emerge from it. V'hainu, what's the advantage? Simcha ha'amitis b'Hashem Elikov haba achar ha'etzev ha'amiti. The true joy that comes after true sadness. So again, these are all things we learned about 1,000 times, just to highlight it for a second. So Shlomo HaMelech said, I see that there's an advantage to wisdom over foolishness, like light over darkness. So of course the question is, I don't have to be a genius like Shlomo HaMelech to know that Oyer is better than Choshech.
Depression is supposed to different.
Yeah, but that's Lamed Aleph, that's later. Here we're not talking about that yet. So what's Shlomo HaMelech saying? Right? Shlomo HaMelech is saying that just like when it comes to darkness, and light and darkness, the appreciation for light is much greater when you were in darkness. A person's appreciation for freedom is much greater when they were in prison. It's like a physical appreciation, like it's an experience. So too, if a person is confronted by foolishness, right? Imagine you work in a company. You're a CEO, it doesn't matter. And you present a question to your employees, and one after another you get narisha answers. Right? And then someone comes and gives you a smart answer. You can't compare. There's a joy. In other words, we're not saying that wisdom is better than foolishness. That's not what we're saying. We're saying there's an appreciation. When the Chochmah comes, min ha-sichlus. Now, in Chassidus, it's alpi pnimius ha'inyanim, it's even greater. It's not that there is a matzav of darkness, and from the darkness you were in prison, and v'yitziyeh mitzara l'rvocha me'afei l'la'ira, that you're going to come out to light. But Chassidus says, actually, you're going to transform the darkness itself, that the darkness itself will become light. The klippa itself, there's an advantage, right? In other words,
the ksil itself should become...
it's like, my grandparents, they never failed to have this experience. I don't want to mention names or whatever it is, but many years ago, somebody showed up in their house with a ponytail. One of my uncles brought a guy in off the street, and then some years later, they made him a chasana. He became a Baal Tshuva, and today he's like a top shliach. So to them, that
transformation
is more it's more memorable and more precious and more like, doesn't matter all the chassidim, but that's incredible. I can't believe it. You don't understand where it was. It's an amazing thing. So there's an advantage, there's a maila. So Alter Rebbe says similarly, when a person experiences darkness, depression, sadness, and a person transforms the sadness, there's such an appreciation to go from atzvus to simcha. We just have to know how to do it.
Right.
We have to know how to turn that wheel. We have to know how to turn it around. And the Alter Rebbe says in Perek Chavov, it has to be le'itim uzumana. It has to be only from time to time. It can't chas v'sholem be on a continuous basis, and it has to be ala v'inoisov. It has to be on actual sin. Like the Alter Rebbe will explain later, and it's done b'mar nafshe v'leiv nishbar. Shal yidei zeh. When a person has real atzvus, nishbara ruach hatuma v'sita achra, it breaks the klippa, which becomes a mechitza shel barzel hamafsekes beinoi la'aviv shabashamayim. We have to keep the conversation centered, but I want to say just like. Just like in the classroom, right? Just like that kid in the classroom that has all these obstacles getting in the way. He can't learn. Why? Because he's hungry, because a kid threatened him, right? There's other reasons, because the learning modality, the way his Rebbe teaches, that's not the way he learns. The style of the Rebbe, he's a visual learner. This Rebbe only talks. Last year's Rebbe used the board, right? There's all these things that get in the way, and you can't, right? The Alter Rebbe is saying that when a person does an Aveira, it clouds the ability for their neshama to connect to Hashem. The Eibishter says that I'm blocking you. So how do you deal with that? Right? How does a person deal with the fact that his heart is like he has a stubborn heart? It's like he wants, but he's still far. And the Alter Rebbe says that through Leiv Nishbar Ruach HaTumah. In the recovery work, the first avoid is to be broken, because the Ich bin zerbrochen, right? In other words, because that takes away the mechitza shel barzel between a yid and the Eibishter. Nishbra, yeah, so there's the klippe. Mishkasa Bezer, the Bezer says on Tehillim Nun Aleph, Al Pasuk Ruach Nishbara of Leiv Nishbar. Many people, in other words, before, not in the Zayar, not Al Pi Chassidus, the Ruach Nishbara means also me. My spirit is broken. My spirit is broken. My heart is broken. But the Zayar says no. Ruach Nishbara means the Ruach HaKlippah. The tumah is being smashed. Azai, when a person does that, Yekuyim Beireisha Dekra, the beginning of the pasuk will be fulfilled. Tashmieni Sasam V'Simcha V'Geimer. Hashiva Lisasein Yishecha V'Ruach Nadiva V'Geimer. That the Eibishter gives you back, restores you to joy. Then now for those who say Tikkun Chatzos, or if you look in the Siddur, Tikkun Chatzos, it ends with this kapitel Nun Aleph. The Alter Rebbe says, "V'zel tam ha'pashut." This is the simple reason the Tikkun or Arizah Leimer Mizmer Zeh Achar Tikkun Chatzos Keidem Alimud, because the way you do it, you're supposed to say Tikkun Chatzos and then you're supposed to learn, and you're not supposed to learn from a place of brokenness. You're supposed to be joyous. So. Simcha Mitis. I think there's some story, I don't know, I don't remember the pratim. There's some story when the Rebbe turned 50, the Rebbe said, "Amaimer Hashem Sfasei Tiftoch." The Rebbe verbringt that there was something, the Rebbe Tasach geweint. The Rebbe cried a lot. Yud Nissen.
What year was the Rebbe 50?
Yud Beis.
Yud Beis.
Tafshin Yud Beis. The Rebbe was a Rebbe.
Wow.
So there was some exchange between Reb Shmuel and the Rebbe. Shmuel Levittin said something to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe retorted about the psukim Tashmieni Sasam V'Simcha, or he said to the Rebbe, I don't know, I don't remember the story, but there was something there that, in other words, why is it that in one kapitel Tilim there's such a call for joy and such a call for sadness? There's something wrong. What's going on over here? So Alter Rebbe is saying no, dafka, because the path to such sasan v'simcha tashmir is only through the taking away the sadness. Yeah, and that has yisrin sheyesh l'simcha zu yisrin ki yisrin ha'er ba min ha'cheshach dafka. We have to think about internalizing it. Anyway, everyone has their own journey. It's not for the.
Thank you.
Yeah, just.
But you should know that everybody has them. Like even Alter Rebbe, those times in his life that was very, very, and for a good reason. Also, the Rebbe, so it's hard to define exactly what he means here. But Atzav means he means somebody that's actually heavy and stuck.
There are many people who write letters to the Rebbe. They're all, about how terrible their life is. Whether it's Aman Shlichus for so many years, I accomplished nothing. Zelig Rifkin always does a video where he talks about that. He wrote a letter to the Rebbe, what am I doing here? What did I accomplish? Whatever. And you have there are hundreds of letters like that, in Shlichus, in the family, in the job, and everything. And the Rebbe says, I don't understand you, here I got regards from you, and then you wrote to me yourself, and you have a family, whatever, right? All the different things that the Rebbe writes. And the Rebbe's point isn't just that you should say, okay, I'm not going to be sad. The Rebbe's point is you should be mamish overjoyed, like that you had,
so much to be happy about.
Right, like such a schus. Not even grateful, but it's hard for a person who's having a hard time, but also to look around. It's like, I remember one time I was young, and we were home. It was Hanukkah or whatever. I was in yeshiva, and someone mentioned some big veer that came to the Hanukkah menorah lighting, and they gave him whatever. And someone said he has millions, or whatever. And my father says, "Das ist meine Millionen," on the kids. And I just have that. It was such a powerful. Really, this is so much more than what Buzz at the end. And what does he have? I think it was Ben Weeder or something. Someone was saying, you know, like, well, so it's fakert, that to realize, that, you know, and to have such joy.
But it was official suggestion to Rebbe Rashab from the doctor to get letters from Tulchit to see that kids are successful to elevate his spirit.
Yeah.
Look,
It's hard.
Prakash was be happy for his mistake.
Yeah, that's noch gesagt, yem yem.
So he's supposed to see his result, otherwise he's.
I can't speak. No, you know what I mean? Like, Mishikasu b'Zoyar. Yeah, Apostle v'ra'isi sheyesh Yisrain la'chochma min ha'sichlos ki Yisrain no'yichulu ayin shom, but that I mentioned before, v'day l'mevin. And then the Alter Rebbe says, Umikar mo'edi b'rakosov, it's a klar pasuk. What does the pasuk say? That why does Hashem punish the Yidden? Here we are, we're just a breath away from Pasha's B'chukaisai. Because Tachas Hashem le'avadtas Hashem le'kecha v'simcha, that you didn't serve Hashem joyously. Everyone knows Pirush Ha'arizal HaPosuk Zeh. Just in the corner, Oliver, Shkoyach Godel. Right there in the corner, behind the Mechitza. Right here. Oh. Everyone knows Pirush Ha'arizal HaPosuk Zeh. So just on the Kudah. Yeah, just on the Kudah. HaPosuk Zeh. So, right, so the pshat, when things were going well, you didn't serve Hashem. Obviously, that's the basic pshat. The other pshat is that the fact that you have the opportunity to serve Hashem, that should have given you simcha. You served Hashem, but you were miserable. You came to shul and you said, there's no coffee today. I can't understand why I came here. What a miserable life. That's weird. So it's like a merida. It's a terrible thing. Amo, we were bringing sukkahs. I mentioned from the Barditchever. The Barditchever says we don't do tshuva for our avedas. We do tshuva for our mitzvahs. You know, the mitzvahs looks whatever. Anyway. So yeah, the Arizal was saying. And deeper, the Arizal says that the simcha for serving Hashem should be greater me'roiv kol. There should be no simcha that's as great. We're in the middle of a shir. Akoponim. Huh?
This was here, and what did Baditcha say?
I'm saying the Baditchever said.
He said if the Torah was our life.
Yeah. V'hine, okay.
But it's not so difficult that the biggest simcha should be from Mitzvah, because everything else is so.
I don't know, I'm sharing a lot of the things about people, this and that. I was speaking, you know, to a family member that for a while did very well financially. And whatever, you know, in Australia there were people who had a lot of money and then they didn't have a lot of money and everything like that. So I don't remember if he was saying it about himself or about someone else. He said that with all the ups and downs, they made a cheshbon with the accountant. The only money that remained by him was whatever he gave to tzedakah. You know? Whatever it is, anyway. In other words, that was the revach. V'hine. Eitza yu'utza. Right? This is the good advice. The real guidance, letayr libe mikol etzev v'nidu daiga v'mila da'alma. It's a madrega. Even a trace of worry. I said before that etzev is about a tzara that's now, daiga is about something that's coming in the future. Right? I don't remember who said it. He said worrying works because most of the things I worry about never happen. Right? In other words, when a person it's bothering him that for his son's wedding, he's not going to be able to have nice centerpieces, new.
I always came to the wrong color.
So there's a different cheshbon. Yeah, there's a different cheshbon. There's a different.
I don't think it's the father, I think.
You have to be mizboinen that as a girl, like you have to think about that there are things that we need and there are things that we want, and not everything that we want, but needs. Bana chaya mezayna, children, health, food. These are things that we must have. Says the Alter Rebbe Midasas Lakel. Everyone knows that there's a Chazal, the Mishnah, and Brachas. In Perek Tes it says Kashem Shemavarach Al Teva Chulu. The Alter Rebbe doesn't want to speak about the negativity that we make. Kashem, just like we make a bracha on the good, we make a bracha on the opposite. Pirshu b'Gemara. The Gemara explains you can't say just like, it's a different nusach. Here you say Atay v'Ametiv. Here you say Dayan Emes. So what does Kashem mean? Pirshu b'Gemara. The Gemara explains the Kabbalah b'Simcha, that you have to accept both b'Simcha. A person, he was rich his whole life and he lost everything, and he has to accept it with the same joy. Kemei simchas ha'toiva haniglis v'niris, like a revealed toiv. Ki gam zula toiva. The Rebbe, there was a Farbrengen, I think Chanukah, I don't remember exactly, like Tov Shalom Ametes. The Rebbe spoke ba'arichas. There's a sikha in Lakutei Sichas. We learned it. I mean, you could listen to the tape. It's a beautiful sikha, the way the Rebbe says it, about the difference between Gamzul Teva and Kol Mada Avid Rahman Latava with Nochum Ish Gamzu and the Maisa with Rabbi Akiva. Right? The Rebbe explains that Rabbi Akiva, he lost something. The animal was eaten. He slept in the cold. Elamai, it prevented him from something worse. He could have been taken captive and whatever, so it was worth it. Gamzu Teva with Nochamish Gamzu, the way the Rebbe describes it, with the diamonds that they stole, the whole thing. And then he came in the morning and they tried the sand, So, in other words, the Stam give the guy jewels. He's a king, he has jewels. It's like giving $1 million to the Saudi prince. Yeah, well, so it doesn't means nothing to him, right? But to give him shooting stars, rocks that turn into arrows, that's a novelty. So the Rebbe says that Gam Zula Toiva means it's not that it's preventing him from something worse. This itself, Elamai Rakshaena Niglis Viniris Leine Basar. It's a good that's so great that it can't be perceived with physical eyes, just like we can't look at the sun. It's too bright. There are things that are great, but they're just too fantastic for us to understand how great they are. Kihi me alma de iskasia, shalamayla me alma de isgalia. Where is it coming from in Hashem? Hashem, the light of Hashem is bli gvul. We're not kalim to absorb the light of Hashem. So Hashem has to dilute it and minimize it and squeeze it in. He's like, oh, what do you want, a watch? Here's a watch. Right? But when Hashem gives Ashpas HaChesed that's beyond that, we just get blinded. So the Chesed is greater in Alma de Iskasia. It's hard to... There's a lot on what's being said over here. First of all, the Rebbe always would say, B'toiv ha'nira v'ha'nigla. In other words, why? I know there's steps over here. I'm skipping a little. Because the Rebbe is focusing on another point. In order to do mitzvahs, the more comfortable your life is, so you have less things in the way. So you could learn Torah and you could do. So we want Eibishter, we want Teva Nira V'Nigla, that we could be Yidden, we could.
We could do it and do that we need to do.
Right. That not because we want to be comfortable. Yeah, it's for the Eibishter. Also the Rebbe says the Eibishter is a koil yochel. Mitzat koil yochel, his Alma Galia is Hashem's midas. Alma Kasya is Hashem's thought. Right? Moichin is Alma Kasya. We don't know what other people are thinking. You know, it's like in art, there's like dark art. You know what I'm talking about? Like in music also. There's like, it's like heavy metal is not, I don't know about heavy metal, but I'm saying there's a kind of music that it's like a klipa of moichin. It's not in leiv. It's not like classical music or whatever, rock and roll, that the heart is, that it's, you feel all the emotion. There's like a darkness. It's a different type of klipa. Lahavdil in Kedusha, there's a likus in Midas, and there's a likus for moichin, the closeness. Anyway, I always, whenever we talk about this, I repeat that without going into the whole drama, it was Purim. You know, my classmates were by a Fabrengen, by Zalman Goppen in the house. One of the guys had a brother that was a little bit bummy. And whatever, it was a gewildevet. The guy was drunk. He had his head down on the table. The family members were around the table because it was a Friday Shabbos. It was the Shabbos meal. And then this guy's brother came in, and somebody woke him up and said, "Hey, your brother is here." He woke up, he took the nearest plate, whoosh, threw it at his brother, it smashed, and the kids, and whatever, it's a whole panic. Mm-hmm. And the mashpia was Zalman Goppen at Azei Gishmeichelt. It's like, Ava Atzmis. In other words, the love that's expressed in a patch is a deeper love. Right? Whatever's...
For example, Shabbos, Zalman Goppen was on Ogel, I believe.
Was what?
He went to the Ogel. There was looking for him last Shabbos. He was in New York.
Oh, but he was in the oil?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything that's revealed is diluted. Mm-hmm. The more hidden it is, the closer it is to the source. So it's definitely more intense.
But the Rebbe says we want Tov Nir V'Nigla.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm not advocating for anything. Right? It's a concept.
Sometimes it's because there's a lot of other dilution that comes from.
Where it was
you're talking about the patch that came from
where it's coming from in him, that's not negea. To me, it's the way it was interpreted. Mm-hmm. Right? Zalman Goppen, when he looked at it,
in this situation,
he said,
you gave a bit much.
Right? It's like
that much.
Akopanim. So that's Vovke Mishem Avaya Baruch Hu Amudis Kasiyos Yudke. So that's why the pasuk says Ashrei HaGever Asher Tiyasrenu Ko. The pasuk doesn't make any sense. First of all, Ashrei HaGever, how fortunate you are that Hashem is giving you Musar. That doesn't make any sense. But yeah, because Yisurim comes from a deeper place in Hashem. Not Yisurim, but that the Hashpah is hidden.
It's through the struggle that a person is going to be able to reach a higher level, and that's why for some people that could handle it.
But that, like gym. Let's say right? But that's not the Gamzu L'Toiva. You're saying Kol Madav V'Derachmana L'Tava.
Let's say everybody's training, and I see that this iron he can handle more, and I gave him more weights. So either he can be upset, or really he'll say, "Wow, like the training
I could handle it,
and he could do more." And that's the simple that he's
yeah. And now the Alter Rebbe says, that's why it says, Tiyasrenu Yudke. Now it makes sense why the Shem in the Pasuk is only two letters. Asher Tiyasrenu Ko. Because that's Eisiyas Yudke. That's why also the Chachamim tell us, Kiasmechim B'Yasurim, Aleim HaKosav Eimer Ve'ehavov Ketzeis Hashemesh B'Gvur Rasoi, that when Mashiach comes, they'll be able to receive the entire sun. The Osid Lavai, when the sun is taken out of its sheath, why is that? So the Alter Rebbe is explaining because it's Mida Keneged Mida. Why are they besimcha? How could a person be besimcha if he's being afflicted? It's because Ahavase Kirvas Hashem, he loves the closeness of Hashem, Yoser Mikol Chaya Eilam Hazeh, more than anything. Kidiksiv, Kitev, Chazdecha Mechayim. What is the Pashat to Pshat? Hashem, your chesed that's hurting me is greater than Chayim. The Kirvas Hashem, He beyeser se'es, so Maila le'en kates ba'alma di'eskasya. The closeness to Hashem is greater than alma di'eskasya. Kisham chevyein uzay. That's where Hashem's strength, His might, that's where it is. That's where the intensity of Hashem's chesed is. V'yoshev b'seiser elyon. Those things of Hashem that are hidden, that's where they are. Al-Kain, therefore, Zeicha l'seis Hashem ish b'gvurasei la'asid lavi. That's why he's Zeicha, because she yetzias chama min ateka she'mechusa be'elam hazeh u'la'asid tizgala mikisuya. What does it mean that it'll be revealed? The hainu she'az yizgala alma di'eskasya. V'yizrach v'yoyer b'gilui rav v'atzam, it'll shine much greater l'chol ha'chesim be'elam hazeh, to anyone who was basking in kirvas Hashem in elam hazeh. Those who were in his shadow. Why do we call it a shadow? Because it's a ha'ara of Hashem, but it's not a light ha'ara, it's a shadow ha'ara. It's a ha'ara of darkness. In other words, you have people, they went to Farbrengen by the Rebbe. They stood and they shuckled, they didn't understand a word. What are you doing here? The Rebbe is being mashpia, I know I have to be there. So in reward, it's beyond you. Doesn't matter, but I want to be close to the Rebbe. So when Mashiach comes, they'll be able to understand it. The guy that said, I don't understand it, why should I be here? Oh, Mashiach had zogen amayim, you'll be outside. That's what the Alter Rebbe is saying. Shu bechinas tzeil. That's why it's tzeil ha-chochma, dafka chochma, because chochma is alma di'eskasya, and it's the union of shadow. It's not a revealed and open good. We see, what is that? No, I know what it is. It's for me. Yeah, it's for me. Don't worry. Sorry about that.
Are we going to do Rebbe movies now?
Akoponim.
Oh.
We could, if I get permission to install it here, I'll install it here.
Why ship it to Muncie? Ship it here and then ask you for the favor.
Now, till here,
Project on the wall.
2 dots. Ha'atzmus mimilad. So now, when we talk about atzvus from Gashmias, we say you have to do this as Beinunus. You have to say, you're closer to Hashem. However, ha'atzvus mimili d'shmaya, a person who he's in pain because he did Averis. So you can't tell him, you're closer to Hashem. Actually not. You're not closer to Hashem. So you can't have the same cheshbon. You need a different cheshbon. Ha'atzvus mimili d'shmaya. You have to really search in your heart to free yourself. They bring, maybe it's from the Rebbe, I don't know, like this loshes eitzes, like we find in Tilim, we find psukim that about atzvus, it needs oshes eitzes benafshi, yoga in bilvavi, right, to remove the pain. Ein tzorech leimer, says the Alter Rebbe, I don't have to mention, obviously, b'shas aveda, while you're learning and davening, tzorech la'aved Hashem b'simcha v'tuv levav, you have to serve Hashem from a joyous place. Don't allow it to interfere. Serving Hashem is only mitech simcha. So that's clear. During learning and davening, don't allow it. Elo. Filu mishu ba'al asokim, a person who has a job. He goes out. He's a business person. He works. So he's not serving Hashem now. So what's wrong? He's going to be ba'atzvus. If while he's at work he's like, I'm a low life, I did Averis. B'yadua, says the Alter Rebbe, you have to know, this is a plan of the Yetzer Hara. He wants to make you feel bad about yourself, and then he's going to get you to sin. He's going to get you to be miyayish. You're going to say, I give up. What am I fighting for?
I deserve better.
Kedei lehapiloi achakach b'tayvus chas v'sholem kenoida. As is known, she'im loikein, the Alter Rebbe uses reason. If this wasn't the case, if it wasn't from the Yetzer Hara, and why would the Yetzer Hara do it? In order to bring him down further. Me'ayin ba'aloi atzvas amitis. From where did it occur to him suddenly a true sense of tshuva? Machmas avas Hashem a yirasei be'emtza asakov. Where did he suddenly, in the middle of his work, during his work, we're on the next page, yeah? Suddenly, in the middle of work, he's starting to have a hitter tshuva. Rezech nishtein. Where's the background?
What do you do for a living?
Yeah, vihine, says the Alter Rebbe. Vihine. Whether it comes to you during your avodah, while you're at work.
It's not at work, and it's not while he's davening.
To me,
When he says that edits, that's what he means. Like just walking, you just don't.
Yeah, just the worldly matters. You're eating this, a shower. To me, it's very helpful, this idea, halt. When you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, that's when the Yetzer Hara, yeah, it's like that. That's when do you want a cigarette? Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. In the summer when people's wives are in the country, everyone's mitamol smoking 2 packs a day. Because they're lonely. They come home at night. They're akoponim. So, ein azman akoponim. A person has to be mizbeinen. Ein azman gromo ka'es la'atzvus amitis. Now is not the time for real atzvus. Afilu l'daigas havenis chamurim chas v'sholem. Because rak. L'zois tzarech kviyasitim. First of all, you have to set aside time. It has to be a shasa kosher, and it has to have yishuv adas. Meaning,
And an end time.
the end, he's going to talk about how you go to the end, because there's a circle.
Yeah, it has to start and end.
Right, but the Yishuv Adas means I choose it.
It was pre-planned.
I don't allow it to wash over me. This was a premeditated thought to let me reflect. What is that process? The Alter Rebbe, right? There's a subtlety here. A lot of people, when they're depressed, it's about them. I'm a loser. I'm weak. I don't have willpower. All the different things. The Alter Rebbe says no. The Atzvas Amitis is about the Eibush that is so great. I want to be close to him. I put distance. It's not about your failings. It's about I want to be close to the Eibush.
Between mirrors and that's it.
Okay, there's Bainin Bigdulas Hashem Asher Chotalei. And in that Gdulas Hashem, Kedei Sha'yideza Yeh Libe Nishbar Be'emes. It'll be a true Shvira, not Yush, not the Yetzer Hara trying to get you.
Not the emes nishbar.
Yeah, b'merirus amitis, true merirus. Kumavur ezu b'makam achad. The Alter Rebbe is going to explain in Perek Lamed Aleph. V'sham in Perek Lamed Aleph in Nizbar Gamkein, he also explains ki miyad achash nishbar liber b'itim kvoim mahem. Immediately after, there's a moment when you feel broken, and azai yosir etzav milibi legamre. You have to turn completely and remove all the atzvos from your heart. V'yamin amuna shlema ki avaya hever chatosei v'rav l'sleach, that Hashem cleaned your avedas. V'rav l'sleach, by Hashem, it doesn't matter how many times you ask for forgiveness. By a bosav adam, if you stepped on someone's toe for a second that you never met and you said I'm sorry and he said it's then you walk away, you're good. The 10th time, that's not what happens. You have to have the same reaction by the Eibishter. You have to understand. You did what you needed to do, the Eibishter forgave you. You have to know, like, We make a bracha. Like Chanun Hamar Belisloyach. The Eibishter. You make a bracha. V'zuhi hasimcha amitis. That's the true joy b'Hashem. It's joy b'Hashem. Abba acharetz of kanal that you're close to the Eibishter. And who like us had the dogma of the Rebbe when we see the Rebbe's face Matzah Yom Kippur? Such radiance, such joy, incredible. It's hard to imagine, like, that we were even able to see it. You know what I mean? That we were able to see with such a contrast. Because when the Rebbe would turn around by Napoleon's march, and when he would clap at the beginning, and when his face was still covered, and you saw tears, and the Rebbe's face was red, like mu'uyimdik under the talus. It was like unbelievable. And then to see an hour later, not even, the Rebbe came out for Kiddush Levana. It was like we have to have such a model. So we're in the beginning of the Simcha journey.